Welcome to another episode of the Edmonds Mom's Room podcast. I'm Dr. Allison Felt, owner of Body Motion Physical Therapy, and your host. Thank you so much for joining with me today. I am more than delighted to talk to you a little bit about true holistic women's health and women's healing today, because when women feel really good, amazing things happen in society, right? Our families operate better, our communities are strong, men have a great impact too, I'm not taking that away. But the minute we feel good in our skin, the minute we start to make a greater impact in society. What takes that away? When we feel like crap, when we feel shitty, no one feels good, they can't provide good to society. It's really hard, right? If we're not feeling good or we're having different aches or our back hurts, it's hard to be able to contribute to society and contribute to our families in the way that we want to. It's hard not to be cranky towards our kids the way that we want to and not be the way we don't want to be to them, right? So I want to talk a little bit about like true holistic healing and women's health, wellness, and optimization today, because it's been brought to my attention. Okay, let's just be real here. So many times I get asked, why don't you guys work with insurance companies? Why don't you take insurance? Now, we work with them on an out-of-network basis, but, people say, like, why don't you have contracts with insurance? Why don't you take my insurance? And they're super put off by it, usually. Rightfully so, because if you want to use insurance and you've subscribed to that model because we live in America, that you want to use insurance, absolutely, like I do too. So I have to break it down, like what insurance covers, and the reason, like if you want true women, you want to be optimized to live your best life, feel the best in your skin, you have to work to do that, right? Like it's not just a pill you can take that can make you feel your ultimate best and let you live this like amazing, healthy, good, fulfilled life. Like it doesn't work like that, right? Like you have to work to like really prevent things later down the line. We have to work to prevent the joint replacement. We have to work to prevent the diastasis recti. We have to work to help prepare for birth. There's all these things we have to do. It's in the prevention that the true health and wellness comes. We're all on this journey and we want to prevent the things that we see happening, right? In true American fashion, like we don't believe in prevention. This health system was created to help people when they are sick, when they have an acute injury. The health system wasn't developed to like keep the people healthy. And I think that's like one of the major flaws, right? Like that's just not a thing. If we wanted to prevent people from being healthy, like your gym memberships would be a tax deduction, right? Like your investment in your health would be a tax deduction, because then that would be like, okay, you're doing society good, like you're keeping yourself healthy, we're good to go. You're going to be one less person in the emergency room, one less person getting a joint replacement. But that's not the reality of the system. The reality of the system is that when you get that joint replacement or when you get that bladder medication, you're for profit for the pharmaceutical companies. When you get that joint replacement, you're for profit for that surgeon. When you get the joint replacement, like you're for profit for that, for everyone, like for the prosthetic that goes in the knee. Okay, like someone's getting paid for that, and those aren't non-profit businesses, and my business isn't a non-profit either. And so I'm not claiming that like profit is bad by any means, but it's just having an awareness that this is the reality of the system. So the insurance model was made to help fix people when they have an injury. So great, you sprain your knee. Okay, let's go to a regular PT or let's go to a pelvic PT. Let's fix that knee, and then you're good to go. But let's talk about why you sprained that knee in the first place. Is it because your hips are weak? Is it because your pelvic floor isn't working? Like, we have to get to the root cause of why that knee is getting sprained, or why you're dislocating your kneecap, or why your foot hurts. Like, if you don't get to the root cause of that, then you're just going to be in the orthopedic PT's office 6 months from now, 1 year from now, because we're just dealing with that one symptom. If you're going to a pelvic PT and you're just dealing with the incontinence, okay, so you're doing Kegels, you're doing the exercises, but why are you having the incontinence? Are you having the incontinence because you've had chronic stress and your pelvic floor is so wound up tight that it cannot truly contract anymore? But yet here you are doing Kegels thinking that it's going to improve the incontinence. You might get some temporary improvements by the neurological changes in the muscle, but you're not getting any like long-term benefits if the muscle itself is cemented. Like, that's just not going to help support the bladder and help support the pelvic organs. Definitely not going to help support the joints if it can't do any force absorption. And so if you're just dealing with the symptom and we're not healing the issue, we're not healing your whole body and changing the patterns of your body, then we're not changing anything, right? That's the difference between insurance and out-of-network. So insurance-based providers, like, they're great. They're needed. When you have an acute injury, you tear your ACL, you got to go get that ACL fixed. When you, when you pee your pants, you go to a pelvic PT and they're going to fix that peeing your pants for a little bit, right? Like, you can at least get out of peeing your pants for a little bit. It might come back though. And that's the thing with any of this. Like, you might tear your other ACL because we got to fix the pattern that created this in the first place. And that is the difference between out-of-network physical therapy and in-network physical therapy. When you work with insurance, like, you can't do anything more than what is on that referral. You can't do anything more than what you see in front of you in that joint, right? Like, if you're going to go up and fix whatever else is causing this issue, then that's going to be a lot longer of a process. That's going to not be what insurance is paying for, because that then is prevention. It's the same way that, like, if you think you're going to go to pelvic PT for birth prep, like true pregnancy support and birth prep, like, you have another thing coming. There's no insurance that is going to pay for you to prepare your pelvic floor for birth and prepare your your pelvis for a baby to come out, creating less damage, because that takes hands-on care. That takes hands-on work, and that takes time, and insurance doesn't pay for that. They'll pay for you to go get some exercises and then do them on your own. But the truth is, like, if you know anything about our protocol, or you've been here for birth prep, like, you have to prepare the pelvis, and that takes time. Like, you have to change the muscles. You have to condition the muscles. You have to address the pelvis so it can open. You have to address the pelvic floor so it can open, relax, and contract. Like, you have to do all these things, and that takes more than just getting a few exercises. So insurance is not meant for prevention. If we're talking about, like, prevention and creating a healthy life, a healthy future, insurance just can't do that for us. And there's just another piece that everyone should understand, is that insurance companies are for-profit companies, right? And so they're posting billion-dollar profits, which, good for them. Capitalism at its finest, like, go get it, right? But that's taking away the ability for you to get your care if you want true prevention. But again, insurance isn't paying for that prevention. Insurance isn't paying for you to change your patterns. Insurance is paying for you to fix the knee sprain or fix the incontinence. End of story, end of deal. They're not paying for you to heal your pelvic floor so it can be a true force absorber, taking the pressure off your knees, your hips, your pelvis, your low back, preventing a knee surgery, a hip surgery in the future. That's just not what insurance is paying for. They're paying for that one thing, if they're paying for it at all. Usually by the time they're paying for it anyways, it's $4,000 because you have to hit your deductible and you have your copays. So take it or leave it, right? So I also think it's important that we dive into why so I'm in Washington State. We're in Washington State. So if you're listening to this globally, this part is for Washington State. Local local physical therapy practices that are inside of hospitals are closing because in like all hospital-based clinic outpatient physical therapies are closing in the state of Washington, or they have been over the last few years. And the reason is that that department, the physical therapy and rehabilitation department, are losing the hospital system's money, and they're losing the hospital system's money, and so they can't go on, right? And so they have to close their doors. Well, like, not far behind are going to be the other outpatient physical therapy independently owned clinics that take insurance because they can't keep themselves afloat. So then what happens is they end up having to see a lot of patients in a short amount of time. And so it really jams up the amount of quality care that you can get. And take it or leave it, this is just the reality of the system. And when you are in that system, it's hard to provide like true good health outcomes and see each person as an entirety and instead of just a diagnosis. Because when you're seeing 4 patients an hour or 2 patients an hour, like you are busting through those patients and it's hard to look beyond the knee that's in front of you. You can't be like, why does this knee pain happen in the first place? Oh, it's because her pelvic floor, and it's because her hip does this thing, and we have to address this thing, else the knee the other knee is going to start to hurt, and she's going to be the woman with 2 knee replacements, and those knee replacements are going to then lead to a hip replacement because we didn't fix the thing that caused the knee replacements in the first place. So that's the series of that's just the reality. Okay, so I'm obviously super biased, but like this is what I've seen over my career. So I'm sharing it with you. I wrote this all out in like this beautiful epic piece. So I'm using my notes from this writing that I will turn into a blog and release at a blog at some point. But I am using it to help keep me on track, keep me on just be able to articulate this information. I was going to go into like the male dominated stuff of the system. So I get like hate mail from pelvic floor PTs being like, it must be nice to be able to like work with a client for an hour and like, it's like there's many different pieces of it. Or some people say like, you're making people feel guilty if they can't come to you for birth prep. Well, the reality is like everyone should have this care. So I'm sorry that some people feel guilt, and I want them to like be able to achieve this care. We have a ton of free resources. So just start doing our free resources and you will be able to like help prepare your pelvis for birth. I've had clients that have like come to my workshops and they haven't come in for care and they end up having really good births too. And it's like they just get the information and start implementing that information. The problem is a lot of people need that assistance, and like what we do is so different and so transformative. But you can at least start getting pieces of the puzzle. We have so much free content on our YouTube channel. I want to say like, let's go back to the insurance like based situation. If I was ever in a place that I could like 100% provide free services to people, I absolutely want to do that. Like that sounds like amazing. How would you not want to provide women empowerment, women's health, women fulfillment like for free? Like, of course, that would be amazing. This is the reality of business, right? I run a business and I employ people to help spread this mission and help women live their ultimate best lives and feel so good in their bodies that they can go make changes in society. That's the ultimate dream. Like to feel so good that you can go make an impact yourself on humanity. And I think that's some of my most fulfilling stories that I get from clients. And maybe the fulfillment comes from, I just feel so good in my skin. My kids get to see me thriving and I get to show up for them every single day and feel really good. And so I'm a better parent because of it. Yeah, I still might yell at my kids a few days a week, but hey, for the most part, we feel pretty good. We can go rock and do every single activity we want. I run with my kids. I play with them at the playground. I take them on hikes. Like I do what I want with my kids. My workouts aren't limited. I invest in myself. This is the journey that we want our moms to go on. This is the journey that we want all women to go on. And when you're going to an insurance-based clinic, like, again, your 6 visits to fix the incontinence, and we're not fixing the reason the incontinence happened in the first place. Maybe the incontinence happened in the first place because you had an abdominal surgery, you had a C-section or an appendectomy. Maybe the incontinence happened in the first place because you had chronic stress. Maybe the incontinence happened in the first place because you had a perineal tear that wasn't getting healed. These are things that are going to persist if not truly addressed. So I think that's where we just all have to like realize what we're signing up for. If you are signing up for insurance-based care, just know that like it's a one and done situation. We're not changing your patterns. We're not going to optimize your body for true health. It's like get you out of the pain and discomfort as quickly as possible, maybe, or get you, somewhere near better, but not 100%, not to the healthy optimization and wellness levels. And yeah, so, a little bit of a tangent there, and maybe one day Body Motion will be backed by some big company that truly believes that women should be empowered and fulfilled and live these healthy lives. But until then, we gotta eat, right? And that's where it's this is a business. This is the world we live in. So that's the reality. But it's not about us. It's really about being able to make the changes for people. It's about being able to help people live these lives that they just feel so good. So instead of, insurance and large companies having to dictate how much better you're going to get or how healthy we're going to be able to heal the woman, right? When larger companies are determining that, we're not getting healthier, we're not getting happier, we're not getting more fulfilled. We're just simply we're getting to a status quo situation, right? We're getting to I can get by situation instead of a thriving situation. So I think that's the difference. Women's healthcare in an insurance-based practice, sure, there might be some good ones, but a lot of it's stale, a lot of it's boxed up, a lot of it's ineffective because they just can't. It's not because they're bad providers, it's because they truly can't be good providers in the dynamic and paradigm that they're working in. And so there's that. I'm going to dive in a little deeper. Before Body Motion existed, pelvic floor physical therapy to help women have exceptional births and support the body through pregnancy did not exist. So you could only go to a pelvic PT if you had excruciating pain. And even with that, if you were pregnant, oftentimes you were just told those symptoms will go away after you deliver. And so essentially you were told to suck it up. Not only that, but the standard care failed to provide women with true and real birth prep of the pelvises, truly conditioning the muscles to be ready to stretch for baby's exit. With this attitude in place and lack of support, birth injuries have continued to be on the rise and the rate of C-sections continues to increase. This is what's available at insurance-based clinics, right? They will maybe get you out of pain and that's it. There's no birth prep happening, and I think I just need to hammer that home. And trust me, I can't tell you the amount of hate mail I get from pelvic PTs stuck in the system. But at the end of the day, I have to take those comments as just we are on the right path. Body Motion, we are on the right path because text after text, birth story after birth story that comes from these clients, they help me know that we're movement makers. We are making changes and we are changing birth outcomes for women across the globe. I mean, people that fly here, people that come from really far away to get our birth prep, they're having amazing outcomes. All the local women coming here are having amazing outcomes. When we have nurses and OBs that travel from different hospitals because they saw the way that our clients delivered, we're creating different outcomes. You just can't make that stuff up, right? That's whole body care. That's whole body pelvic floor physical therapy. And, you're not going to get that when you go to an insurance-based clinic. End of story. All right, our previous video got cut off, so bear with me here. I left off talking about how when you prepare for birth, the type of treatment that is required is not covered by insurance because it is prevention. And that's what we're doing here. So this type of care is the future of women's health and women's wellness, because when you prep for birth, you are preparing your body for less trauma to the body. You're preparing your body for a better recovery. We are truly paving the way for women to have the birth of their dreams. We are paving the way for alternative treatment to alleviate major surgeries. There's no reason some people are having hip and back surgeries when we're addressing the root cause of their pelvic floor and healing their deepest core. We are helping them avoid surgeries that mainstream medical doesn't have any other answers for. And surgery is covered by insurance. This type of treatment isn't covered by insurance. I know this type of treatment is going to continue to grow. It's going to help moms and women worldwide get the type of care that they need to avoid major interventions like surgeries, to help them have their dream births and improved recoveries. And simply put, that's my absolute goal. That is the living dream of Body Motion. If you are anywhere in the Washington area, I hope that you will reach out. We are bodymotionpt.com, or if you want to travel here for intensive therapy for a week-long treatment and start to turn the page on your new life and what your body could and will achieve, then please reach out. www.bodymotionpt.com. I'm Dr. Allison Felt, your host, and thank you for being here for this podcast.